each other. We are here to enjoy the presence of God in the Eucharist. That is why there is feast, it's abundance. Of course, that is just my conjecture. But do you think that is the case? Does it make sense? Does the name match the experience? I'm glad you're saying yes, so that's good. Well now, what about church? What do you think church means? Does it mean community? Does it mean liturgy? Does it mean ritual or gathering? What do you think is the essence of the name church? Hulaan niyo. Church is originally Greek, ekklesia. Ekklesia is also the root word of iglesia, with the Spanish word for church. And then, ekklesia is also rooted in a phrase in Greek, ekkaleo. Can you repeat that? Ekkaleo.
Ekkaleo.
Diba? May pa-repeat. Very brother ko. Sinubukan ko lang. Ekkaleo. Diba? It means to be called out of. That's it. Ekkaleo means to be called out of. It's a movement of being somewhere and then being called out of that. It means then that if a name defines something, the very definition of being church is being called out, to move outward, palabas, papunta, mula sa gitna, papunta sa peripheries, mula sa sentro, papunta sa gilid, lalabas, no? And today we talk about humility. Today we also talk about selflessness, of not being greedy when our dealings with others. And all of that is anchored in that movement of going outward. The first outward movement, of course, is out of ourselves toward God. That is why our second reading talks about encountering God in two places. Mount Sinai, where the experience is more of holy fear of God. Natakot yung mga Israelites because they were before God in His majestic glory. So they were quite afraid. But the second mountain is Mount Zion. This is pertaining to the end, when Jesus proclaims His full victory and the mood changes. This encounter is like a reunion between family and friends. Masaya lahat because they have finally encountered God, this God who loves them and saves them face to face. There is an ambiance of joy and happiness. Whatever it may be, the result of encountering God is always us being led outside of ourselves. That is why worship, right worship, is so important. That is why Mass is so essential to us. Because here we meet every time the real presence of God. And if it is a genuine encounter, it will always take us out of ourselves. Minsan, baka tinanong tayo, kamusta? You met the Lord? Anong nangyari? Wala, sucks lang, okay lang. Wala naman nangyari. So, there's probably something worth reflecting about that. Because it will always lead to something profound, and oftentimes it leads to us getting out of ourselves, getting our focus away from us towards God. And of course, this also leads to a movement towards others. And then there is us. Our problem with being humble is that We can't do it because we're always thinking about this person. Even yung false humility na, naku, kailangan kong magmukhang humble, kailangan low-key lang ako, kailangan dito lang ako sa gilid, wallflower. You're still thinking about yourself. You're still thinking about how you appear to others. That is not genuine humility. The hallmark of genuine humility is when we are no longer thinking about us because we are focused on God and on the other person, on the people outside of us. And that only happens in the context of genuine relationship. Jesus was angry, or not really angry, but he was against what the Pharisees were doing. Anong ginagawa nila? Dun sa party ng Pharisee. They were trying to claim the positions of honor. Because to them, that is not just their social paradigm. It is also how they understand salvation. Do you remember what the man asked in the gospel last Sunday? Who remembers what the man who stopped Jesus asked him last Sunday? Who will be saved? Right? Kalimutan nyo na, no? Who will be saved? Jesus, who will be saved? And then, to the Pharisees, it's all about connection, status. Because we are of the blood of Abraham. We are of the people who has a covenant with God. By our status, by our position, we are gonna be saved. Jesus, in giving us a parable about social etiquette, is actually talking about salvation. Every time Jesus uses the phrase, whoever will be last will be first and the first will be last, it's always pertaining to who will be saved. And because we are always wrong about our ideas. We think it's connection. We think it's because we are rigorous in our practices. But ultimately, it is relationship. This is not an association. A church is not an affiliation. A church is a body of people who are communing with God and each other. It is meant to be profound, it is meant to be deep, and it is meant to change us. So my dear brothers and sisters, we are now at the highest point of worship. This is Mass. No other prayer comes higher than this. No other experience will match the encounter that we have with God in the Eucharist. Let us relish this experience. Let us focus our attention on Him. Let us worship Him. And let Him remind us of who He is and who we are. Beloved children, with no need to grasp and struggle with each other, because we are all loved. We are all blessed. Amen. We rise.